We'll do this one quick. Each person gets a minute to answer. But what is the number one thing, the number one area of need Andrew Berry needs to address on this Browns roster for 2024?
Wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 2. I think that's when you look at this offense, I think that if you're going to become with Nick Chubb coming back and not understanding what he's going to be, we're all confident that he can get back to himself. This thing is still going to revolve around Deshaun Watson. You still got to get Deshaun some weapons, but you got to get a guy that's proven. And I think as great as this offense has been in these last 5 weeks, the number one thing that's still missing is the ability to take the top off. Amari Cooper is your guy who you throw the ball too deep, and he's not even a burner like that. Just imagine if you got a guy that can actually take the top off.
A Puka Nacua.
Something like that.
Puka
Just think, as a former DB, I will tell you, the number one thing that scares the DB is speed. It just is. If you know that guy runs a 4.2 or 4.3, you just play totally different. Every DB's biggest fear is getting beat deep. That's just what it is. Giving up the deep ball. So when you see a guy, whether he can catch it or not, you're still going to respect it. I think if you get a playmaker there that actually knows how to catch deep balls and go down the field and stretch the field, it opens things up. You got David Njoku and Amari Cooper. They're not getting any younger. David Njoku has emerged himself as being a guy that can run these nice overs. Amari Cooper can run pretty much every route, but now he's getting game plan now. Everybody's putting 2 on him. Although he's still finding a way to get it done, there's still 2 guys that's still looking at him at all times. Meaning that somebody is getting one-on-one coverage. We have to find somebody that consistently win those one-on-one coverages. And Deshaun Watson throws one of the best deep balls in the NFL. Get him somebody that he could throw it to. We thought Marquise Goodwin could be him, but he was unfortunately not healthy this season, so we didn't really get a chance to see him a lot. But I think that would be my area of concern, and that's a hard thing to find. Finding a guy that can stretch the field and that can be a playmaker as a number 2 wide receiver, you don't find them often.
I'll go quickly. I agree with you, but I'll expand a little bit. It's wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and wide receiver 4.
Jeez.
Now, the answer to some of those might currently be on the roster, but not as constituted. Let's see the numbers again of our receiving yards for the season. This is below acceptable, far below acceptable. Last year, Andrew Berry decided, rightly so, the biggest weakness from 2 years ago was our defensive line. We're going to fix it. They did. They went out. They signed a lot of pieces. I kept saying, enough with the defensive line. Let's address the wide receiver. Instead of trying to fix 2 things at once, it's clear to me now his approach was, we're going to fix the line this year. We're going to fix the wide receivers next year. These numbers are absolutely embarrassing. Njoku is your second number 2 receiver. A running back is your number 4 receiver. But look at the numbers, guys. Our number 2 wide receiver averaged about 40 yards a game. It's not going to get it done. Not in the NFL. So now Elijah Moore might be your 3. He's definitely not your 2. He might be your 4. Cedric Tillman might be your 3. The 2 is currently not on this roster. They need to go out and priority number 1. What's next season hinge on? We've said it a million times.
Deshaun Watson.
Okay, you better give him another weapon because he doesn't have enough. And you want to eliminate any excuse for his failure. All excuses. It has to be at the end of the year if he doesn't succeed. I don't want to hear, well, we didn't have the wide receivers. Eliminate the excuses. Give him every tool he needs to be the quarterback we need him to be.
What we trade for Elijah Moore?
Second round pick.
The Browns traded down. Wait, hold on.
They got a third back, though.
They got a third back.
Okay.
But, however,
not awful.
However, let me give you the list of wide receivers that got drafted between the 3rd round pick they got back in that deal, where they took Cedric Tillman, and the 2nd round pick they gave up. In other words, guys they could have drafted
right. Yeah,
instead of trading for Elijah Moore.
List.
Let me give you the names, okay? Number 1
Tank Dale.
is Jaden Reed of the Packers, who's pretty solid.
I would take him.
He went 2nd round?
Yes. Number 2, drafted 55th, Rashee Rice of the Chiefs, who really came on at the end of the year.
Wrong. I would take him.
Number 3, Marvin Mims. So far, he's done nothing.
Right.
Want to vomit? Number 4, drafted by the Houston Texans.
Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Guy was an absolute. If he hadn't gotten hurt, he would have been a Pro Bowler probably. That's how kind of season he was having. And number 5, Jalen Hyatt, and than Cedric Tillman.
So the lesson in there is there were 3 receivers that the Browns could have taken.
Yes.
And passed on all 3, and instead went with a guy who was running bad routes, was leading to some interceptions.
Wait a minute. Hold on now.
And by the way, that doesn't even – Puka Nacua was also available.
Wait a minute. This ain't fair because we sat here on this show and said the Browns just don't do well drafting wide receivers.
They don't. That's got to change.
Okay.
Well,
so they probably said to themselves, we just don't do well drafting receivers. So
Well, you can – no.
let's trade. Let's trade.
You address your weakness.
They
You don't ignore it.
They traded for Elijah
But they drafted
Moore.
the receiver anyway in the 3rd round.
That's true,
Yes.
but they thought they didn't think
And
they
the
was going to
3rd round is where they've screwed up their receiver picks.
Here's what I think.
So
the way
we
they have-
absolutely can't draft a receiver in the 3rd
That's
round.
right.
No, you can, but you can't do it with the same methodology that you have. So here's what absolutely has to happen. And I don't know if that means Paul DePodesta has to get his ass out of the room when they're talking about wide receivers
Everybody
or
go
what.
to him.
But here's what we know. Well, look,
I want
he's
to
been
meet
consistent.
him and shake his hand. Paul DePodesta.
Okay, here's what we know. The methodology that they've used to evaluate receivers is an absolute fail. It's not mid, it's an absolute fail. They cannot do it.
Except for Amari Cooper.
That's
Well,
a trade.
that was they knew what they had with him. They knew what he was.
They thought that
That's
was
true.
the same with Elijah Moore.
I'm talking about evaluating receivers at the collegiate level and trying to determine if that success will translate. Whatever they've been doing and however they've been making those decisions, it has to change because enough hay is in the barn that we know they're not bad at it. They're awful at it.
And listen, we said the same thing about their ability to get defensive linemen last year, and they got better, right?
They did. And that's what I'm saying. They addressed that problem last year.
But a part of the getting better was guys that they had drafted that we thought were busts played better roles, and they played better.
Because they weren't asked to do as much, I think.
Right. Jordan Elliott we thought Jordan Elliott was a bust.
I gave up on him.
But this year he was a rotational player, not a starter.
And
he thrived in that role.
Well, I think that speaks to instead of running 75 snaps, you're running 40.
That's right. And that's why I think Elijah Moore as a 3rd receiver, perfectly fine. He's good. 3rd receiver.
Yeah, I do too.
He's good.
That's
I got no problem with him.
I think that some of the parts can stay,
That's
but
right.
not where we have them slotted. He's not a 2.
I think
It's not a 3.
David Bell showed you a little something in the playoffs. If he's their 4th receiver, I can live with it.
I moved on.
We'll see.
I moved on. What is his normal catch? 5 yards.
But you know what?
He's a possession
But Jay,
receiver.
I don't want him.
listen, if you have Jay, let me tell you something.
I don't want him.
If you have Amari Cooper, David Njoku, and a legitimate number 2 receiver,
That's what we
then
need.
the 4th receiver, if he's David Bell, is fine.
I guess.
It's fine.
You on
now,
Tillman?
or potentially Tillman. Let me give you 5 wide receivers that are going to be free agents this year.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Now,
Big names.
what's that?
There's some big names on
Let's
this list.
Yes.
hear them.
They
Now,
got trade for Stephon Diggs.
remember that none of these guys, these guys all could. I had it and I lost it.
Here are 5 names, Bull. I think.
Go ahead. You probably have the list I was looking for.
T.
Oh, I got him.
Okay.
Here we go.
T. Higgins.
Number 1 is what Mike said, T. Higgins. Now, some of these guys are going to be franchised.
Franchise
Yeah, he will be
tags.
franchised.
Number 2, Michael Pittman Jr.
I would love to have Michael Pittman.
Could be, but we don't know what these teams. The Bengals don't really have anybody else they're going to franchise. I don't think. I don't know about the Colts.
Right.
Number 3, this guy's. You'd want Pittman and Higgins because they're good and young. This guy's good but not young. Mike Evans.
Boy, he dropped a ball last night.
He did, but overall for the season he was still great.
He was great this year.
He's good for 1,000. I'd take Mike Evans.
I would
Okay.
love to have
To
him.
Take Mike
me,
Evans.
those 3 guys are the top level.
Okay.
One
Now-
more name real quick, Bull.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not done. Mike Williams of the Chargers.
I forgot about him because he was hurt.
Yeah.
I don't trust him. He's always hurt though.
I like him because he's a big
He's
player.
big,
I
but
like
he's
I like
always
that about
hurt.
him too.
He can
I do
jump,
like
but
that
he's
about him.
always hurt.
He is what I thought Tillman would end up being one day. A
He's
guy
always
that
hurt.
can just high
Tyvis,
point
always.
things.
He's been hurt every year.
So what?
Well, I don't want him if he's hurt.
2 other guys who are the next tier of free agent wide receivers who are definitely number 2s.
Okay.
Marquise Brown, who's had some injuries.
Yeah.
He stretches the
Remember,
field.
we're not asking him to be 1s. We're asking him to be 2s.
I
He
know.
stretches the field. I like that.
Calvin Ridley.
I take that.
Interesting 3 years
He had a little
ago,
bit of an
not
up and
anymore.
down. But this year he was still.
Calvin
I mean,
Ridley?
what did he
Calvin
finish
Ridley.
with?
Yeah.
Mike, what did Calvin Ridley finish with numbers-wise?
How old
he
is
had,
he?
he had a decent season. Bull, is that your biggest need as well?
Yeah, that's my list. Those are the guys I'm interested in.
I think he's
Ridley
older.
finished 76 catches, 1,016 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good.
It's okay.
You take that as a number 2.
How old is Ridley?
He's young.
Calvin Ridley is 29 years old.
Yeah, I thought I had him.
Oh,
close
wow.
to
I didn't realize he was that old.
Okay, so you could go that route. Or you could go back to the well that has poisoned you the last 4 years.
Go to the draft.
You could try the draft.
Well, maybe try it in the second round instead of the third.
Second
Well,
round.
you have to try it in the second round. So
Yeah.
you don't pick until 54.
we
The great
cannot
wide
pick a
receivers
third
are
round
off the
receiver.
board.
Well, Tank Dell was taken around there.
You know
so
what? Here's what we have to do, and this goes back to reevaluating how you evaluate wide receivers. What was it that forced every team to pass on Puka Nacua 4 times? Most teams passed on him,
including the
5
Rams.
times.
Well, not 4 times.
The Rams, well, they all passed on him 4 times, just like Tom Brady. You know, the Patriots get credit for taking him at 199, but they also passed on him 5 times. So what? I want to know, like, how was that? How did that happen? How did everybody miss on a guy that, by the way, on the post-draft news conference, when Sean McVay came to the podium,
said he's a star.
He didn't say, you know, there's a guy we got in the 5th round or 6th round, and I think he's going to be okay. He raved about Puka Nacua. This guy is going to be a star. How in the hell does that happen? He knew it, but 31 GMs and coaches didn't.
But if he was that sure, why did he wait till the 5th round to take him?
Fair question, but you still got him.
You say that after.
You always get people for as cheap as you possibly can.
But how could they have been sure he was going to make it that long?
Because I guess you talk.
Now, he's the anomaly, but we have seen, listen, the 2 best wide receivers in this past draft were him and Tank Dell, both taken after 54.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown went 3 years ago.
So there are going to be.
So there are still guys who end up being great players.
The thing that, how have the Rams done this? How did they turn it around so quickly? Because remember, after they made the trade, they said, like we did, you better win a Super Bowl because the dark years are coming.
And boom.
How did they turn it around and get back to the playoffs just 2 years removed from the Super Bowl?
They draft
well.
Well, yeah. Once you're in the cap situation, you have to hit on your picks.
You better hit. And you know what? The same thing could be said for the Texans. Now, they had more draft capital, but look at the draft the Texans had. We need a draft like the Rams have had the last couple of years, like the Texans had last year. We need that
that's hard
from
to
our
do.
front office.
Those are unusual.
It is hard to do, but you know what? Winning a championship is hard to do, and you can't win a championship without not being good in the draft. You have to nail the draft, and we have never done that. We've always had pigs somewhere in our draft. We need a superstar draft this year. And I know we don't have the capital till 54, but they've been pigs.
We have 3 questions left, and we're going to get to them after we bring on Mary Kay here.